Today I have this iPhone 5S. This iPhone 5S needs a new battery because the battery drains very quickly. So I'm going to be replacing that battery with this special battery that I have that's going to be more milliamp hours. So the first step is to get the phone opened. Unfortunately, another thing that happened is I already was starting to take apart this battery and the plastic strips of glue failed. So I'm going to be demonstrating a method that a friend of mine showed me. So you turn off the phone. So here I'm going to be taking these out. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I can say that this is going to be the bottom of the phone. So I'm going to store my screws in a nice way. So I'm going to draw the bottom of the phone right here. And here's a headphone jack. Right here, this is maybe not necessary, but it's a good habit of becoming organized. It could be the charging port. And then now, in red, going along with the iFixit, I can draw 2 circles for the pentalobe screws. You can label this step 2. The cool thing is you can keep these cards and keep using them. If the holes become worn out, you can just put new ones nearby. So we can even go right here and write 3.9 millimeter pentalobe if we wanted to. So that's step 2. I drew it towards the bottom of the paper just so that you know, it could be towards the bottom of how it is on the phone. So now what I do, zoom it in if you want a little bit, is I put my finger behind the card and I kind of just put a screwdriver to it, just kind of roll at it like that. That gives a little hole. Sometimes you'll go too far and you'll need to make the hole again.
Yeah. If you put your finger behind the paper, it won't go too far.
And here's another trick. You can magnetize your screwdriver you're using by sticking a magnet onto it. Look at that. Now we can go over to here. Poke those through. That one's in.
Show it from the side view.
I'll flip it right now and do that. So we're going to put the other one through. Another trick I do is I kind of hold my finger against the screwdriver to hold the screw in. That's the way I do it as well. So there it is. They're both in there. As you can see, they're pretty solidly in there. Actually, in this case, I might just rip off the bottom of the card because this one will kind of be pushing up the paper when I fix the whole phone, and it'll be coming out. So I'm gonna make this its own like separate card. Just for this one because these are really long screws. So I'm gonna go ahead and set that aside, and now it's time to open up the phone. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to be taking off the screen to get the inside of the phone. So I have this special tool here. You can do it with just a suction cup, but I'm going to be using the tool today. Just to pop it up just enough so that I can slip a flat blade under there.
Mention the name of the tool.
This tool is an imitation of something called an ice slack or something like that. A cheap imitation will do just fine. So I'm just going to push it. I'm going to hold the middle of the phone because I want it to open towards the bottom. I'm actually going to move this suction cup as close as possible to the home button. So that's where it'll open the bottom and not pull at the middle of the screen, which tends to separate the screen a bit at times. So there it is. I'm going to hold it here. As you can see, it's starting to pop up in the corner right there. At which point I slip my fingernail in there, or I'll slip this one in. As I was squeezing with my right hand, I slipped this little blade in. Now that I got that thing solidly in, it's okay to stick it a good amount in on the left hand side, because that's where there's nothing that can be damaged. I'm gonna go ahead and pull off the suction cup tool. Now that the suction cup tool is out of the way, what I do is slightly pry up here, you heard it click, work my way around to this side without digging in too much here, because this is the home button just below here. So what I gotta do is go over to this corner, and then I can slip this along this rail right here gently. So you can see this one's starting to separate as the LCD is not in the best condition. So just got to be careful with it. Another thing is there is a tempered glass on here, but you can still use the suction cup tool effectively when you have tempered glass there. So now this one is up. This is the part where we have to be a little more careful. There's this little button right here that's connected through this wire for the Touch ID sensor. It's no longer done with two positive and negative contacts like it was back in the day of the iPhone 5. It's more complicated now. So we're gonna pry this one up. Normally there's a metal cage over it. If the first time the phone has been disassembled, that cage is optional when reinstalling everything. So since the cage is not there, we just pop this one up. And now we gotta disassemble this section of the phone right here. So I'm gonna go ahead and make another one of those punch card things for this section. So I'm gonna make a card for this shield. The shield roughly has this shape, right? Step 17 is what we call it. And we have a red circle here.
Green.
Orange. Yellow. Yellow one's kind of faint.
As long as you know it's the faint one.
Alright, as long as we know it's the faint one. So now, we're gonna go ahead and do this just like always. Okay, so now that I removed the first screw, we put it into the card. There, it's in the card now. We go for the next screw. Right there.
¿Qué? Ah, creo que ya tengo una.
One of the screws fell just now, but somewhere under these cables. So I'm gonna go ahead and disconnect these. This piece is now separated. Now for that screw. There it is. Now all those are poked through. Now we're off to the next step, which is going to be the battery section. The battery door is like this. We'll do it in pencil so it's more faint. It actually was an earlier step, but I'll just level it step 8.
Vénganse los que van a ir a... Está llueve y llueve, ¿verdad?
¿Quieres que vaya, Mari?
Vamos.
Voy.
Vamos, el que quiera ir.
Anda quiere que vaya, entonces voy.
Acá dejaron una taza.
¿Trajeron cebolla, Marife?
Sí, voy con mi tía Mari.
Moradas.
There we go.
Está en el baño.
This part comes off. Lift this part up. We use the poking tip of this one. Now that part's up. The battery is not going to come off and the adhesive strips are broken. So I'm going to take off the motherboard to open space for us to use the fishing line method to take off the battery. Now that this card is done for the motherboard, we gotta lift up a bunch of other stuff to expose the motherboard. We'll set this one aside. Now I'm gonna disconnect a few cables up here. What you could do is just lightly poke at it with the tip. Right here, I don't want to dig too far into the motherboard because there are different surface mount components. Holding the motherboard down with one finger, kind of popping at it. You don't want to jab in too much, just lightly. There's like a little lip to it right here, just above the actual connections. And disconnect this one down here too. And this antenna cable as well. Actually, I'll do this with my fingernail. That's how I usually get these. That one's out of the way. Gotta remove the SIM card tray. It could be done from the inside by pushing at this little switch. Now, the motherboard is starting to lift up. As it starts to lift, it should slide up and out, but it's still restrained by this cable here, which I'm going to remove. The coaxial cable. It's pretty well held on. Got a little bit of like glue around it, as you can see. And there's also this one right here. Actually, this one should not have been removed. So I put that one back on. So I'm going to set the motherboard aside. Okay, so now, do we have enough space to go in and take the battery out, or should we remove more of these components?
I think you have enough space. That's how we did it last time, right?
Maybe should I get the speaker out of the way?
If you can, yeah, that'll probably.
So I'm gonna take the speaker out of. I'm gonna use another half card. So now I'm just gonna slip the speaker out. We have a bit more room to work there. I'll fold this one back out of the way. Now it's time to bring out the famous fishing line trick. For this, I'm going to need a length of fishing line. About, you can see it's folded back. About that amount should do. We'll go ahead and cut that.
That's about 1.5 feet of wide.
About 1.5 feet of fishing line. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take 2 of my screwdrivers, take the bits out for right now. I'm going to tie this onto here. Alright, these are now solidly tied on here. And now it's time to go for the phone. So what I need to do is fold an angle of this, correct?
Yeah.
Should I start nearest this screwdriver?
Yeah, you might want to do that.
About right
it
here.
doesn't really matter as long as you get it in battery. Then you can adjust it however you want.
I'm gonna fold a little corner into it right here. That should make it easier to slip under the corner of the battery. So I'm gonna go ahead and slip this fold. See how it's now kinked. It's under there now. So now what I need to do is work the line around the frame of the phone. I folded it again to help it go around the corner. You can use this flathead screwdriver to kind of guide the line under there. So now, as you can see, the line has encircled the phone. You zoom in a little closer just to show it. So I have it here and here. Now once the line has encircled the phone, I gotta make sure that this wire is not under there. And now it's time for the sawing motion. Zoom it out, yeah. So I have the two screwdrivers, and what I gotta do is kind of pull them back and forth. Hold the phone now. Okay, now that it's slipped in, I have an assistant here, or he's actually the one showing me how to do it. Holding the battery down. Now these two have to be held as low to the phone as possible, not out at an angle like this.
Yeah, otherwise you'll
So what I'm gonna do
pulling up the battery.
is just pull on one of them while allowing the other one to get slack, and the glue is gonna start going off onto the fishing line. And sometimes the fishing line may begin to get caught under the glue. That's fine. If the line breaks, you simply go for it again. We can show the glue all over the line towards the end.
That noise is just the line passing through the glue.
And try to get a lower angle. Line came separate on here, so I'm just gonna pull it through and retie it. So the line became separated from that screwdriver. I'm just gonna pull the line through and just retie it. Now it's very stuck.
You can pull it the other way too.
It's okay to pull it hard. I'm giving it a good amount of force. The line is now, if I feel it, it's got glue on it. So I'm gonna go for tying it on again. So I'm gonna go for it again. I'm folding the fishing line at an angle. I'm gonna loop it under the corner of the battery. Now I'm under the battery again. So this time, I'm gonna leave one slack and I'll pull the other one through.
Remember not to pull it too far either because of that cable. If it starts resisting too much, you can take the opposite end and just straighten it out.
It's very stiff right now. There's a lot of tension on the right hand side, which is the, sorry for yelling, but it's got to get in there over the piano. There's a lot of tension on the right hand side on the orange one, but it's working. I think I want to risk running over the cables again because I have more, and so this thing is way slack. See that? Now I'm gonna go back to the green one.
The green one, pull it more to the side. Yeah, actually, you see the glue chunks coming off?
Yeah, we'll show a close-up of the glue shortly.
Hey, it looks like it's working really well.
So now I'm just alternating. As you guys can see, the orange one is going in, the green one is going in. And the battery is starting to come up. Now I'm just going back and forth. As you can see here. We've nearly reached the tip of the battery, and now we're approaching the last corner. I'm gonna go very slowly because there are a lot of small cables there.
I hope they didn't pull that cable.
Fishing line's kind of caught under there.
It's probably caught in that cable. Yeah, it looks like it's alright.
There it is, the battery is up. And it's fairly undamaged as opposed to having to stick something in there. As you can see, both glue strips were intact. We managed to run through both of them with the fishing line. At the upper end, this cable was a little bit hit by the fishing line, but it should be fine. In the future, we're not going to run the cable so far up near the line. We will probably stop about here and then put a card in.
Especially if you have someone to hold it too.
Now I'm just scraping the glue off using the flat end of this. Okay, so now it's time to put the motherboard back in. These cables got a little damaged, frayed, but they should still work. I think that was the fishing line trick at its best, wasn't it?
Yeah.
This is all going to be sped up.
And we also kind of refined the process during the when we were at the Jack in the Box. That's when we learned the stop motion, you know, and someone holding it frame.
Do you have like a way of doing these that's better?
Putting those clips on?
Yeah, how do you use your, like, do you have a trick to it?
Same ones, you just use your hands.
Ah, so no trick to it.
No, there's no other way to do it, is there? It's just pop them in and that's it. And make sure you don't get any stuck under the motherboard. You gotta make sure you don't have the dust
Look.
in the contacts either.
The
because-
board, this thing should have went in under the board.
Because one time when I took apart the blue phone, I put it back together and the screen wasn't working right. It was like some parts of the screen, the colors were like wrong,
Uh-huh.
and it wasn't accepting touch commands on those parts.
It's because you had dust over your
Yeah.
electrical connection.
Yeah, exactly. So I took it apart again, and I took the little tiny piece of dust out. Like I could see it, but
Yeah.
it was really tiny.
They told me to blow on it.
And then when I put it back together, it worked fine.
You should.
I was like, oh shit, I hope I didn't break the screen because I just bought it and that. Thank goodness.
I think it's time for it to go
What was
for
wrong
the
with
card.
the battery
Right?
again? It just wasn't lasting that long?
Nope.
How quickly would the phone die?
Maybe an hour or two. It would start to deplete.
That's how my sister's phone is too. Even though I bought a new battery for it.
Just get another tip going. Now it's time to so-called hot test it. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna plug in that old battery, and I'm gonna plug in just the video channels of the screen. And I'm just gonna lay that down gently, and we're gonna hot test it right now. You cut both of the little LED lamps. So it's powering on right now. And I'll speed this up. And I bring in music during the sped up parts.
People are gonna think your phone powers up really fast.
No, when there's music, it generally implies speeding up. But when I use a ratchet, I love leaving the ratchet sound. I got one I gotta finish. So I'm gonna test the features that are associated with that flex that got a little bit chewed up. They're fine, they're just wires, so the lock button, everything's working fine. So I'm gonna go ahead and power it down, and we're gonna slip our new battery in now.
Yo estoy comiendo pedacitos de. Si hay chance, dile a Beto que hacemos las galletas de. Tengo el chocolate chip, podemos hacer galletas de chocolate. Pero está muy ocupada la estufa, ¿no?
What I'm gonna do is I hear a little bit of glue on the back.
Just enough to hold the battery, but not enough to make it a pain to take it out again.
That's how it's gonna be. That piece of glue should do the trick.
Put the little plug it in first. That way you don't have to adjust it later.
Alright, and I'm bending the little wire to shape, roughly to shape. Go ahead, plug it in, and gently just slide this thing into place. I'm gonna make sure it's not really like bumping into any of the corners of the board.
Yeah, definitely.
So right now, this area is fine right here to be up against here. Kind of like a padding it has. So that's in.
You didn't squeeze the battery too hard, did you?
That's about as well as it's gonna fit. Or that's actually. Let me try plugging it in again better.
Don't pierce that battery.
I think there's enough clearance here. See it?
Yeah.
I think that should be fine. We'll go ahead and plug that back in. It's a tight fit. Maybe they made it bigger because of the more milliamp hours. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and just write a date on it, just to know when it was changed. now go ahead and put these back on. Put those down. We'll go for a power on test now. Lights. It's powering on the new battery at this moment.
Sí trajimos la albahaca.
Ama, ¿a qué horas ocupan el carro? ¿A las 5:30?
El show empieza a las 7. Nos vamos a ir aquí como a las 6.
I'm gonna turn that off and we're gonna finish closing the phone up. Everything seems to be in working order.
6:30.
How charged was the phone?
It was at 56%.
Not bad. Yeah, I think you got the fishing line trick down. You did it pretty much on your own. I just had to hold the phone.